Howdy, folks. Cody here with another long overdue IronVerse Quickie. This time on Sailor Ragowski. A spin off, a manga thing by the amazing folks over at New Age Ninja Corps, primarily known for the indie hit Rags. As always, here's a little context. The team on Rags was one of the first larger, more successful creative efforts to notice and assist me in finding space with my own work, and I've been a Patreon member ever since. They just send me stuff. This is some of that stuff. Sailor Ragowski follows a Marine stationed in Okinawa. It explores cultural and regional prejudice and plays with both military and magic girl tropes, resulting in a fun concept. The pacing is stellar. It's more to my liking, as it has major manga influences in tone, stylization, and execution compared to most Western comics. Heck, it's even bound right to left, which did lead me to a bit of confusion at first, as I'd been reading manga for a good long while before I decided to recheck this out and give my thoughts on it. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. The issue was the paneling does not follow right to left. It is still left to right paneling, but is presented in right to left page order. It's left to right paneling in right to left page order. Just a bit of confusion. Once you get it, you get it. Especially if you've been reading both for as long as I have. Like, switching between styles is not an issue. Even when it's a very unique expression of it like this. It has incredibly clear, stylized, and heartfelt line art. As you can see, it's very clear emotionally. Just beautiful facial expressions, movements, scene settings, so on, so on. I can gush over Mr. Luigi's wonderful line art all day, but at the end of the day, it tells the story clearly, and it moves forward without bogging it down to world build or to really preach. It just implies things and keeps on moving. Great way to handle it. The dialogue is clear, and it paints the characters in enough depth to be interesting, yet not too much to slow things down. Again, it's just her talking about her experience as a Marine in Okinawa. There's a lot of really cool action. And we get a great set of character designs. It worked very well to get me to want more, and the character designs are grabbing and tropey without being cornball. They certainly don't look cornball. The giant kappa they're fighting's a great example, alongside our cat girl, magical girl. The first entry is presented in 2 parts, and I truly hope a combined single release comes soon. With the second release, the binding returned to the traditional Western style, which I think works better since the paneling is done on a Western release in both parts. So as you can see, this one goes right to left. And this is the copy of number 2 I found. I'm unsure if I have another one. Bear with me, folks, while I get this out of the bag. We'll be talking about the variants here in a bit. There we go. Here's volume 2. No spoilers, but excellent character design. And we're back to left to right reading order and paneling. Just beautiful. Really love the page setups. Let's go here for volume 2 since we're talking. Volume 2 is basically just part 2 of the first story, so it feels very much the same, like it was meant for the same issue, so I'm not going to really... there's not much to tell otherwise, except for it finishes the story, right? So, it does what it's supposed to do. Overall, though, Sailor Ragowski, parts 1 and 2 there, is a great read, and it doesn't waste a second of your time. A lot of the time when I'm going into these quickies, I get bogged down, especially since I tend to do indie comics. The reading part of the reading can sometimes not be that fun, whether it's because of glaring technical and craftsmanship issues I noticed during it, or the story's not quite my bag, but I can see what they're going for, but I still gotta, it's not something I'm actively engaged with. No, this was just fun. It was over before I knew it, which was, in my opinion, is the best way to do it, because if you can leave somebody with that feeling, then if you did it well, then they want more, right? They feel like they're satisfied, but they want more. And that's what you should be aiming for with every release, in my opinion. Um, but that's the good stuff. Let's get to the less than stellar bits, which was entirely on the production and printing end. So if you're getting digital, none of what I'm about to say will matter. In part one, there's a noticeable bleed issue, and I'd like to show it if possible. Still love that logo. So you can tell, I mean, isn't the best? Okay, there's a few examples there. So you see that should have a little bit more white to it. It didn't cut off the paneling, which is good, right, on any of it. There was one that, yeah, there we go. But we are starting to hit the lettering in some places with the bleed. It's not the end of the world. This is just something I noticed. The bleed is very, very tight. I remember it. There is a specific example. I wish I had tagged it. That would be a preferred. I think it was cutting off a panel. And it's like, oh, okay, that's why there's a bleed issue. I mean, again, it's fine. You can see a little bit there with the top of that box is fine, but it is cut off, and you can see it running pretty close. It works. This is just a tiny thing, but I can tell on the original files. There was... oh, there! That's it. It's the last fucking page. That's where I noticed the bleed issue right there. Protect. I mean, it's obvious. Again, you don't really lose context or anything, but that's something you'd want to avoid, right? And so that was the part that made me notice it, and then I can go back and I can point on the paneling and stuff. That completely solved in this as far as I noticed. Yeah, see, there's another example where they were trying to bring a flat bubble to the bottom. Come on, focus. And there's bleed room, right? So that was fixed the next go. My guess is they were just working with the printer and figuring out a rhythm, right? That happens. It's production. But there was that. And again, it was fixed in part 2, so that's fine. And both parts have a bit of low resolution to how the art printed. And now this is again just kind of an issue. You have to get really close, and you can see how the lines feel a bit scratchy. You can see like on that door frame in particular, right? I would like to see the high-res line art to see if that's a stylistic choice. But if you also look at the lettering's cleaner, so it might be a stylistic choice for the line art. I don't know. It was noticeable to me. Now, whether or not, again, if it's a stylistic choice, fine. I didn't originally notice as such, especially since we're getting this high detail art. The scratchiness doesn't make it pop as well as it could to me. Yeah, you see, I think it's coming off on camera, and if you got a discerning eye like I do, like that car, that's a good one. And then like how the foot is bleeding down in there, you can really see it. Again, it could be 100% could be a artistic choice, but I don't think in that case it was. I think it was just the printing quality. I don't even know if it was the file quality that the printer was given, or if it's just the printing quality. But that's something you'll notice in even mainstream comics. So like it's not a big deal. But I like to include areas I notice where I think improvements could be made, and in my opinion, I think that line art would pop a lot more if it came off smoother and tighter than scratchy. But again, allegedly he does a good chunk of this line art with a key, so maybe it is a stylistic choice. It's just how the key comes out. But I think it's picked. I think it's so uniform and digital in how what I'm trying to discuss is that it's I really think it's a printing thing, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong. But that's it. It's just those two things. Just printing stuff. Um, Neither of those things, I think, except for that. Not that beautiful celebratory New Year's image and another wonderful promotional image. That, except for that, that's the only error a reader would certainly notice. The rest of those other ones are like the general bleed throughout until it hits that page. Most readers won't notice it. But it's there. Once you notice that T there, then you can look through the rest of the book and see, there's not much room for these panels to breathe, so the bleed wasn't right. But that's not something a reader would notice, right? And same with that resolution, especially if they're just digging through it and not staring at it. So there you go. I'm also personally not a fan of variant covers. So this is probably more of the classic cover you'll find. I really like it. Very blatant. Wonderful illustrated monk cover. And then what was the American Hops promotional image that I think's been changed up since. But I have to admit that the holofoil stuff's fun. Like I can't fault it. I think that's fun. I don't know if it's like the best, because I like the feel of a regular floppy compared to this material. For reading, right? Of course, I read this copy because read the shiny one, right? But I don't know. Beautiful stuff. But yeah, I can't really fault them. I know that it's done the team very well throughout their years creating rags. Variant covers have done them quite a service in maintaining their work, so fine with it. I'm not a big fan. I've done them mainly to delineate print runs and campaigns, right, and give extra value to people who are jumping on, but I've discussed many other places why I'm not a big fan of variant covers. These don't seem to be doing much of a disservice, like many variant covers can. And yeah, Hulk foil's cool. Glad to see it. Glad to have it on an indie book. It's neat. But all in all, this is a cool side project from a dedicated team who prides themselves on having a good time creating, and it shines through the work that they produce. But we'll talk more about that, because I think now I'm going to have to do rags 1 through 7. And that is an endeavor I'd like to do a lot more justice. So I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics. This has been IronVerse Quickies on Sailor Ragowski. Check out New Age Ninja Corps, their Patreon, their website. Support independent work. If you are in the armed forces in particular, this is a great place if you're a comics fan in the armed forces to kind of rally and find footing. They do a great service for folks there. The team prides themselves on being as militarily accurate as possible, so if you're coming from that perspective as well and you get sick of those action movies that make things look ridiculous, without trigger discipline or the correct chains of command, all that fun stuff, these folks tend to work very hard to portray that stuff in a respectful manner. So check it on out, and I'll catch you folks next time. Adios, amigos.